Hi, we are Koza and Nicholas, and we did our research about urban planning and public space in Latin America and the Caribbean, and we are now presenting some of our findings. Enjoy. Public spaces play an important role for urban life in Latin America and the Caribbean. They offer space for all activities related to social life, including politics, communication, trade, representation, religion, sports, and leisure. The creation and use of public space symbolizes the society of its formation and has changed significantly over the last 700 years in the continent's troubled history. The basis of today's LAC cities is marked by the colonial Old Town, offering every public building an encircling square. During the 19th century, denser living and representative quarters were established for an ever-growing population, while 20th century development was motivated by the creation of car-friendly cities, vanishing quiet boulevards and parks. Urban growth in LAC cities during the 20th century occurred at an accelerated pace, creating density with little regard for planning. Public space wasn't considered essential and deemed undesirable since unattended space risked being illegally occupied and appeared an inefficient use of land. Havana's lack of diverse urban situations, however, is mainly related to investment shortage rather than globalized speculation. In recent years, two forms of city making have established in the cities of LAC. While governments use city planning from above, private initiatives approach to create city from below, dividing cities into formal and informal cities. Informal city making reproduces the existing socioeconomic inequalities. Because of its isolated situation, this development has not had the same impact on Cuba as on the mainland. Being regarded as the most urbanized and most unequal continent on the planet, this challenging reality is reflected by public space's current state. While some get to enjoy high levels of public health services, millions of Latin Americans live with insecurity, ambiental destruction, gender inequality, and lack of opportunities. However, these inequalities led to a growing awareness that public space is the only urban land use where all social classes are welcome. In LAC, much of the social interaction can be observed on open-air public spaces, which could be grouped into the following typologies: the classic colonial structures such as squares and parks, temporary or consistent markets offering all goods for daily life, streets and curbstones, public-private spaces belonging to companies, semi-private spaces belonging to associations or private property, or forgotten leftover spaces, as well as areas for sport and leisure. As social instability poses a steady companion in LAC, forming political initiatives became common practice. In recent years, an urban movement has formed determined to tackle the decline of public space. Local initiatives debating use and strategies for public space occur all over the region. Strong private networks have formed, looking to reinstall participation in public areas for everyone.
By studying the different public space projects in Latin America, we came up with the following main categories. First, adding one layer to the city. These public interventions are basically made of a mono-element which adds another layer to the urban space. These interventions, which are connected to art, is designed in community scale and are mostly done by close cooperation of the citizen. They provide a temporarily stop space for passersby and have a small physical impact on the urban space. One of the examples is the series of verses painted on the different places of a neighborhood in Havana. Official public spaces designed by professionals. In this category, governments and developers play an important role in terms of financial support. These kind of projects are included in city development projects and are trying to respond to the neighborhood's basic needs, including playgrounds, sport cars, and gathering places. So, landscape and its relationship with urban space is instrumental. Flexible small space intervention. The most common feature of this kind of product is flexibility. A small city furniture that not only can be moved and located in different places, but also can have different functions according to the location and the requirements of the space. These installations are mostly designed for special functions that cannot be available in every part of the urban space, like a bookshop or a local music studio. Giving a new meaning to the place. By redesigning the already existing space and infrastructure, a new meaning can be given to the place. In these projects, presence of local actors as the non-official designers is one of the most significant features. For instance, this participative project in Chile recovered the empty and abandoned rubbish space between the houses to an open-area concert hall. Or in another part of the Latin America, homeless citizens took over and inhabited the unfinished abandoned skyscraper, which resulted in a vertical city for informal communities. In this part, we are going to briefly mention some of the aspects of public space in Havana as the representative city of Cuba. Maybe it seems that Havana is suffering from lack of public space infrastructure, but it has more street life than any other cities in the world. This is an extremely walkable city whose sidewalks are narrow and not well defined. On the other hand, Cuba has been blessed with limited access to cars and gasoline, but it is changing and demand for cars is being heavily driven by a lack of alternatives. Also, a strong bus system would seem to be a cost-effective and very compatible solution to many of the city's problems, including house demand, pollution, and cost of living. Reconfiguring major intersections and restriction on parking are a few of measures that could help Havana avoid many of the problems that the most developed cities are now facing. Parking squares are all over and the historic qualities are well preserved. A system of a small parking square, while not always beautiful and polished, are points of pride, sociability, and comfort. The narrow though important focus on preservation has not allowed the parks to evolve past their historic form. The square in Old Havana should have music in them for public, and not just for the paying cafe customers. Many youth and lovers use the parks, but parents and small children do not seem to have reason to use them. The Havanas Boulevard are major amenities that rival the world's best phones and are the defining icons of their neighborhoods. Despite the fact that they are well used, this generous public space needs more use and destination. The waterfront is clearly one of the city's greatest assets and already an identifying icon, but the public space along the waterfront needs the most improvement. The Malecon, while beautiful in postcard, is not really that usable for pedestrians. A wide and fast 6-lane highway with no crosswalk is flanked by a narrow promenade and limited destination with no uses and amenities.
In LAC, the significance of functional urban landscape has started to be recognized for its high social impact. To invent democratic public areas, a lot of efforts will rely on the inhabitants themselves. This poses a chance for small-scale participative projects offering a sense of community and identity. Especially Cuba, with higher equality levels and strong social networks, could help experimenting with new formats for the region.